Welcome to the Center of Influence podcast, the place for breakthrough conversations with experienced business partners like you. It's time to optimize your center of influence. Let's talk.
Hi, I'm Bailey Woolsey.
And I'm Nick Gentile.
And we're from Rise Springfield, and welcome to the Center of Influence podcast.
Welcome, everybody. We're very excited to be here, to have both of you here today. A little bit of a different environment. We're here today in the LRS studio, so thank you for having us here today.
Yeah,
Bailey.
thanks, guys, for coming out. Appreciate it.
This is awesome. This is a huge upgrade for us. So.
Yeah. This is also our first episode in person. Usually we use Zoom, just because it's a little bit easier, but we're trying to upgrade some of our methods, so we appreciate you having us here.
Yeah, it's fun to be able to get to use this room for more than just training, so we're excited you guys are here and really looking forward to talking about Rise.
Awesome. So why don't we just start by you telling us a little bit about yourself, how you got to Springfield, all that good stuff.
So I grew up going to Chatham High School. And then when I graduated, I was one of those kids that was like, get me out of Dodge. I can't be here anymore. I want to go anywhere but Springfield. So I went to Iowa State for school. That led me to Laguna Niguel for my first job, and then over to Washington, D.C. So I lived on both coasts in the matter of just a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to do that. And then I actually decided to come back after a job transition out in DC, just come back, be a little bit closer to family and friends. And when I came back, I was really trying to find new ways to get involved, but wasn't quite ready to really make that jump yet. So how Rise had happened was Nick and I both actually had a common connection, Amy Beadle, when we worked at Shields. Gosh, what, 10 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
Long time.
Yeah.
So that connection, we both ended up talking to Amy over the course of 2 weeks. The same, hey, what do I do as a young professional? How do I start getting involved? What can I do around the area? And she's like, you guys need to meet because you are asking the same questions and you need to do kind of just get together and see what needs to happen to make something come about for Springfield. But I know my story is a little bit different than yours.
Yeah.
So tell us about yours.
Yeah, so graduated from Rochester High School. I went to Lincoln Land Community College in Springfield after that. So didn't want to rip the Band-Aid off quite that fast.
Smart.
Yeah, so I was still able to live at home, and actually I lived on my own, but I lived close enough to home that I could still have home-cooked meals and that sort of thing. So after 2 years at Lincoln Land, I moved to Champaign, lived there for 3 years. I was working for a bank over in Champaign. They asked me to move to Indianapolis to help them develop a piece of their market out that way. So I went out there. I did not know anybody, obviously, when I went out there, and unfortunately it was during COVID, so it made it a little bit worse. But while I was out there, a coworker referred me to a group called Friends of Riley that was a fundraising organization, nonprofit, that raised money for Riley Children's Hospital in Indianapolis. And it was a good mix of young professionals. It was all people kind of in that 20s, 30s, some range. And it was honestly the first and the primary way that I made friends in Indianapolis. So without that, I would have really had no social life. I didn't have much of one anyways. I was working a lot, but the friends I did have, I got from that organization. So long story short, got married, decided we were going to have kids pretty quickly, wanted to be closer to family, so we started looking around. Springfield ended up making the most sense for job purposes, and I reached out to Amy. I just sent her an email out of the blue. I said, hey, I'm moving back to town. Here are the organizations I'm involved with in Indianapolis. Could you potentially give me some ideas of similar organizations in Springfield? So got me plugged in with the United Way, but then the Friends of Riley group, she said, we don't really have anything like that in Springfield. So we got lunch one day. She brought up Bailey's name, said the same thing that she said to Bailey about me, that you guys need to meet and workshop some ideas. And in that first meeting, Rise Springfield was honestly born.
Yeah.
I think we walked away from that meeting saying, yeah, we're just going to do co-presidents. Perfect. Because she was passionate about it. I was passionate about it. And I think we had a lot of the same ideas. So
yeah, the goal was definitely the same, and we brought a lot of different strengths to the table for it. So.
Absolutely. And then the next goal was to find somebody to help us get it launched.
Yeah.
So we started talking to some organizations there. That's how we met Mike Murphy with the chamber, and he helped us get it started. But by the time we got there, we really had the plan put together.
Yeah.
And then quickly put together a team of people who are really good.
Yeah.
Our board is fantastic.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about who's on your board and what they do in their role?
Yeah, so we've got a couple of different roles. So Bailey and I are co-presidents, co-founders. And then we've got Rachel Savaggio, who is our events chair. She helps coordinate venue space and speakers. We all do a little bit of everything, but that's kind of her assigned job on the board.
She also takes the best notes ever.
Oh my God.
For all of our meetings, like she does not miss a detail, and I don't know how she does it.
She's really good.
She's fantastic at it.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
And then we've got 2 marketing chairs. Caitlin Coltis with Visit Springfield.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel's with the Illinois Bankers Association. Caitlin Coltis with Visit Springfield. Yeah. Taylor Stevens with Synergy Home Care. They help us with the socials and kind of just general community outreach.
Yeah.
We have Wes Lunt, who is our volunteer chair, coordinates with the United Way and other organizations that we send volunteers to their different community projects around town. We have a recruitment team that brings on we try to bring on new members. We're also kind of the sponsor chairs, if you want to call us that. Bailey and I serve in that capacity along with Dakota Greer from KEB. Mm-hmm. And we just added CJ Baker from CMT. So we have a group of 8. It's a small group but mighty group, and we kind of kick butt.
And I would also add Melissa Horn from the chamber.
Oh, yeah.
Also is a huge help. She's kind of been really the person that helps keep us on track with like all of our different events and follow-ups with our sponsors and making sure we're doing the right steps as we're planning all of our events too. So it's been a team effort.
Yeah.
But it's so fun just to see how everyone interacts and works together. Like we all have such different strengths. It's so cool to lean on each other for it.
Mm-hmm. So what is the goal behind Rise?
You want to answer that?
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I think everybody probably has their own why if you were to ask every single person on the committee. But, I mean, for me, my goal for Rise, and Rise has you can go on our website and read, kind of where our focuses are, but I want to answer for myself personally first. And for me, it's a home for people who are either are from here and are trying to stay, or people who have moved here from somewhere else and are trying to find their way here in Springfield. It's a place for them to not only make friends like I did in Indianapolis, but also for them to make some business contacts. It depends on what you're showing up to our events to accomplish. Every person has a different goal, but I think that there's something for everybody that's a young professional in Springfield at Rise events. But yeah, I mean, and you probably have your own why and can...
Yeah, I mean, what I would add to that is a lot of it is just like the networking piece, right? How do you meet people that aren't from this area? Like, how do you meet other business contacts? And I feel like there's a really good blend of that. There's a lot of bankers at our events. There's a ton of recruiters as well. And just a really good mix. Like, I'm in outside sales, but I don't go with the intention of necessarily trying to sell my product. It's how do I learn about other businesses and how can I be of help to everyone else in that room, right? I think that's how everyone is kind of approaching these. Nothing's like a hard sales pitch, which sometimes you walk into networking groups and it's like, I don't think I love this. It just feels like everything's super salesy, and I've never gotten that impression with Rise. But some of the other pieces that I think we're really trying to capitalize on are the volunteering. So we just did the United Way Day of Action that Wes had helped put together with Mitch Bake over at United Way. And that was a ton of fun. We had, 8 people sign up for that? 8 or 9?
Yeah.
And we got to just go work at the outlet for the afternoon, pulling weeds and stuff. And it's just doing something a little bit different, learning about a new organization in Springfield and being able to do it as a team. We're also going to be putting together a volunteer list for the Memorial Health Championship. So we're looking for volunteers for that, shameless plug, to help out with that. Just run some of like the entrances, the booths. I know that's a huge tournament and they're always looking for volunteers. Yep. And you get access into the tournament itself. So it'll be something. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, some incredible golfers. Even if you're not into golf, just seeing these guys do their thing is amazing.
Yeah.
But this fall, we also have a clothing drive where we're going to help connect people with professional clothing so they feel more ready for success when they're walking into that interview they're nervous about, right? How do we all clean out our closets of these old blazers that I know this one's probably ready to go, but I'm not ready to part with it yet. But if it was like going to help someone feel that success for their interview and feel like they're going to nail it and set their career up, like we're putting together that space for people to do that. And how do we grow that again for next year?
Yeah.
I know Taylor and the Taylor Stevens, who's on our committee, as well as the ambassadors team, they really ran with that last year. So we're really fortunate to be able to run that event this year for October.
Yeah. Yeah. So Bailey kind of touched on it. There's really three arms, if you will, associated with Rise. So we've got the networking piece that we've talked about. So we have our social events that happen at least once a month. We usually alternate between morning and evening events. There's a professional development piece. So we had an event this morning that we had a speaker at Steve Thomas came and spoke to it was awesome, about leadership development. So there will be a piece of that. So for our morning events, we'll have some educational piece. That's our plan, at least, for all of our morning events. And then, as Bailey said, the volunteering. So networking, personal development, and then some community volunteering efforts as well. So if we can tackle those three things year in and year out, I think that will determine the success of Rise going forward.
Yeah, and you'll see the word leadership dropped a lot too, but that's just all of those things are developing leadership for everyone individually. It's just at their own pace, and how do we connect people to it better? So
it sounds like if I'm a young person in the community, I see some real nice benefits that I would get from this. But what about companies? How do they see their employees? Do they push them in this direction? How do you see that going?
Personally, I see it as a huge recruiting tool for companies. So like I'd mentioned, we have a lot of recruiters that are coming to these events. They're not necessarily trying to poach people from one company to theirs, but the more relevant you are out there representing your brand, the more awareness that people are going to get to that, right? So we're at every single one event, and I feel like I'm getting more and more questions about, what is LRS? What do they do? And I'm able to connect people into like, what is LRS doing? Does that work for you? Whether it's a job or whether it's one of the multiple divisions that we're able to provide services throughout. And then same with you for banking.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you help so many businesses in the area.
Yeah. And I get lots of questions about that. It's it's one of those things where somebody finds out you work at a bank, they want to know, where are the rates at and all those things. So you get those questions, and it's fun. It's a fun environment to have that conversation with somebody. But I think that a lot of businesses probably want and the businesses we've talked to are this way, want their employees to be involved in the community in some capacity, whether they're in a sales job like we have or not. I don't think it necessarily matters. They want their employees to be invested in the community that they work in, in some way, shape, or form. So whether it's making extra connections, or like putting in some sweat equity into a volunteer project, and you feel like you've kind of put some sweat equity into your city, right? I think there's something there for everybody. So it's a huge benefit. Plus, our events are free.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been so lucky that the appetite has been so strong for Rise, and these companies that we go to, and we we're not asking for a ton of money sponsorship wise from these companies around Springfield, but everyone has been so generous. Sometimes we'll go and we'll want them to sponsor just one event, and they say, well, can we sponsor several events or a handful of events, whatever. And that happens more often, maybe half the time. So, we know that there's an appetite because of the attendance at our events. We're seeing 30 plus people at every event. The first event had 200 people almost.
Yeah. Our event today had 55. The only one under 50 was our last social event.
Yep. So not only do we have the attendance to back the appetite, but we also have the sponsorship. I mean, it has been... maybe it's just me. I stress out about asking people for money sometimes. I'm a lot better at lending money out than I am asking for it, I guess. But it's a heck of a lot easier when the companies seem excited to write you a check to help this thing be successful. So it's been a lot easier with Rise. Yeah. For the first time in my life, I'm not scared to ask a question. Like, hey, can you please write a check to sponsor our event? Like, I don't have a problem doing it anymore because I almost always feel like the person on the other end of the table is eager to help in some capacity. Maybe it's not money. Maybe it's just, no, but we'll send people to your events. Like, that works great too.
And by some of these companies sponsoring, their employees are more likely to come to the event. And one of the things that we've gotten as well back from some of these companies that our group is catered more towards that 20s and 30s. So people who are a little bit out of that age range. Obviously, we don't tell anyone you can't come, but it is just... I
appreciate that. Thank you.
We do try to keep the content more towards that early to mid-career stage. Yep. But people are like, I wish this would have been around when I was in my 20s and 30s. Right. So I feel like there's this piece that people are like, I want to help make this successful because I don't want someone to sit in this chair 10 years from now and be like, I wish this would have been here. Yeah. But I mean, it's such a recruiting tool for people. It's a great way just to get your brand out there. And I mean, there's companies that I'm learning more and more about through this process that, I mean, it's just been really eye-opening just to be like, wow, I had no idea that was here. And that was part of Leadership Springfield for me too. Yeah, so this, in a lot of ways, is a continuation of what Leadership Springfield can offer in this area. Like, I had never been to the FBI building ever in my life. And when we walked in for that session, I was like, this is really cool. I can't believe this is Springfield. Yeah.
And Nick's never gone through the front door before.
Right. I will tell you, it is intimidating going into that building.
It is.
I want you to, give them a blood sample on the way in the door. It's intense.
But yeah, I mean, if you think about, like we have LRS, like, here, right? And you wouldn't think this is in Springfield. Same with, like, Brant and all of our hospital systems, and then Springfield Clinic. Those are massive companies. And then Heartland Bank and Trust is another huge brand that's just entered into this area. Yeah. We have these big businesses that a lot of the younger group just doesn't know that they exist. They don't know what they do. And you leave college, and then you move back home, or you move to an area like this, you don't know where to start. So hopefully this is going to help people feel more comfortable and like, I've just moved here. I just moved back here. How do I get acclimated again? Like, because I'm not the high schooler I was, or I'm not the college kid. I'm an adult now. Different stage of life. So
my dream is that if somebody is ever in that position that I was when I moved back here, and I reached out to somebody that I knew was well plugged in, and if somebody does what I did, and the person that they talk to says, you should check out this Rise Springfield deal and see what that's all about, that, I mean, mission accomplished for me. That's really all we were talking about goals. That's really, if you boil it down, what my goal is.
On that same line of thinking, Nick and I have discussed this many times, but we've just come out of a pandemic. We have a lot of 20-somethings that either are right out of college, or maybe they've been out of college for a few years or in the workplace, but maybe haven't had that chance to mingle and get to know each other. So how do you feel that this is going to afford that opportunity for them?
That's a really good question. I feel like this is giving people a really good space to kind of figure some of those things out. With our event at Papa's, I'll never forget, there was someone who came up to me like, how did you do that? And it's like, what are you talking about? They're like, you just walked up to a group and you're like, hi, I'm Bailey. Nice to meet you. You guys mind if I join in? And they were just completely amazed that that's what you could do at a networking event. To you and I, and then even to you, John, it's completely second nature just to walk up and introduce yourself to a stranger. So I feel like I do not notice anyone standing by themselves at our events. No. I feel like people either kind of include someone into their circle, or people are really comfortable just like being able to be like, oh, hi, I can introduce myself, and I don't feel like that was wrong.
Yeah.
Does that kind of answer your question about the
sure.
COVID
Well,
piece?
we didn't mean for this to happen, but we're kind of training people on how to network. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in a way,
that's
by
true.
giving them a comfortable space to do it. And I think it will be, the longer that Rise is around, the more that person that you're referring to, or anybody else who's in that boat, the more that they will start. They're going to start doing some of those things that the three of us do at the Rise events, and they'll start teaching a new wave of folks how to do that. So there's definitely going to be some development in the networking arena for anybody who sends their people to our events.
Go ahead.
Oh.
I forgot what I was going to say. Just completely.
So part of that is that when I was much younger, walking into a room of all these professional people, whatever job they have, especially if it's an event where people are dressed up and things like that. Mm-hmm. As a young person, you can feel so intimidated.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you break into those circles? I mean, you're talking, if you're 20s and all these people are in their 40s and 50s and they're well established, how do you walk up and introduce yourself? You don't feel like you can go in and have that conversation with them. But I think this is an opportunity for peers.
Yeah.
That are all going through this together. You might have some people who are more outgoing than others, but those people can put their arm around
oh, absolutely.
the other people and bring them in, and
we our committee does that by nature. So and it's something that we talk to anybody who's interested in joining our team about. Like we don't have our own ambassador team. We are the ambassadors. We're the ones that are passionate about this. So. For us, we are those people that are putting our arms around others and saying, "Here, you might enjoy talking to this person, or you need a service. Maybe you could need like somebody to cut down a tree at your house. There might be somebody there that provides that service.
That's totally happened.
Yeah. It happens at our events.
People who own roofing companies, accountants.
I've seen those guys everywhere now. Ever since that last event.
Well, that's because they talked into your phone, and now it's tracking.
It's everywhere. No, I see the actual people. I'm like, hey, I know you.
Yeah.
They sat at the table next to me at lunch today. It was like, this is a weird coincidence.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Good. So, before we talk about the future of Rise, maybe let's just talk about some of the events, maybe your favorite event, or we can go through all of them. Just what have the events looked like so far?
I can't pick my favorite, so you have to go first.
Honestly, I think today was my favorite because it was the first time that we got to see the mix of professional development and networking all in one event. So like we accomplished really two goals today. The social events are great, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I love them personally, but I think and the feedback I got today, and hopefully I'll continue to get feedback from people on today's event, was that there was just a little bit extra, right? Because you walked away, Steve Thomas gets you hyped up for the day, and he gives you some takeaways.
I found out I peaked.
You peaked, yes.
Long ago.
Yes, correct.
But you can go through that cycle.
Yeah, you can start over.
I gotta dig myself out now.
He doesn't want it to be like this. It's just like a slow, you peak and then you come back down.
Yeah. So I think today honestly was, our kickoff event was amazing. I mean, to have 200 people show up just to support us was, can't ask for much more than that, but...
and that's just the people we captured at the door. Like, their emails, not actual people, just like their emails that we captured.
Yeah.
So I accidentally RSVP'd 4 times. So.
Yeah, which is nice.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
You are our number one fan, so we also very much appreciate that.
That is very, very true.
T-shirt still to come.
Okay. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
It's happening.
So, we've got evening events, morning events, kind of explained that earlier. The evening events are just more, your cocktail hour type deal, social events, and then, morning events with coffee and maybe some food and then, a speaker. Mm-hmm. And then we just kind of throw in volunteer stuff as needed. So I think organizations are starting to learn our name and what we do, and hopefully what will end up happening is whoever's serving in that volunteer chair capacity will be a point person for people that just want to rally up, some folks that are our members and are excited to volunteer around town.
I mean, there's so many different ways to get involved, whether that's just being a part of United Way. Like, I know you're on the board for United Way, but there's other ways to be involved with United Way aside from being on the board.
Yes,
and how many nonprofits
absolutely.
do we have in this town and associations? There's
Yeah.
just countless ways to be involved. So being part of the process to help someone actually feel like that soft introduction has been made. They're just like, hey, I'm part of Rise, and I heard about United Way at an event. I'd be interested in volunteering. It just made that conversation a lot easier for the person who's a member of our group. So I'm excited about that.
So since you started Rise, have either of you seen any really positive impacts on yourself or somebody else that's been involved?
Yeah.
I've made great friends already.
Yes.
I mean, it was so fast. Not only with just like the people on our committee, because we all get along super well.
Yeah, we do.
But just a few people that I met one time at one event I would already consider them friends, or at least folks that I would do business with going forward. So I can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's so many people I've met for coffee or lunch just from the first few events, or, I mean, just people. And then it's not even just like, I met you through Rise, but now I'm friends with Whitney, your wife.
Yeah.
Just because, you and I know each other through this, and how many times we have a lot of lunch plans pending, so don't worry.
Yeah, but that's just us, right? Like, if you were to ask that question to somebody who's just come to some events, I bet there are already some stories, some webs being, connected between people that, in, how many events are we in? 4? If you don't include...
4 or 5?
4.
4.
So we're 4 events in, and I know for a fact from talking to people that I know really well that that's already happening for them with other people. So it's sky's the limit on what that could mean for Springfield going forward. I don't want to make this sound like this is like the transcendent thing in Springfield, but for certain people it could be. It very well could
Pretty
be.
big deal.
Yeah, sure.
It is definitely a big deal, and I mean,
we love it.
It's so cool to be a part of seeing it come together. Like, I love going to, obviously the Rise events are fun, but I've been to a number of chamber events too, and how many people are like, what can we do to help? Like, do we need, like you had said earlier, can we send people to your events? Like, how do I stay involved? Like, what else are you guys doing in the future that we can be a part of? Like, those conversations are so fun just to think about, like, what is Rise going to be like in a year from now, in 5 years from now? And it's painful to think about this, but, like, we're going to age out of this at some point.
Right,
but it's like, how much, like, what all can we do to set up the next leaders of Rise so that they're completely successful, right? And that's a big part of it, too.
And if you talk to anybody that's in a leadership role in one of these organizations, and we both know some, from either the research we did before we decided to do this, or just from organizations we've been a part of personally, if you talk to them, the biggest... The biggest deterrent for these types of organizations, and the thing that usually ends up shutting them down, is just poor succession planning. So that's something that we don't have to worry about today. Yeah. But it's something we're already talking about it. Just so that way, not every meeting or anything, but it's in the back of our minds, and something that we're going to be focused on. Hopefully, several years down the road when we
still got
get
some time.
Old and gray.
We still got some time.
Yeah,
There's no grays yet.
Get up to your age. Yeah.
But I mean, I will say one of the biggest questions, just when we've talked, that we always ask ourselves is, who's going to do this better than we can?
Right.
And like, that's what we're thinking about when we think about succession planning, is we've put our hearts and souls into this, and like, when that person comes along that is going to just like completely run with it and the timing is right, like, we want to be able to hand it off to someone else so that they can make it bigger and greater than we ever dreamed of.
We're not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, y'all are stuck with us for a while.
But just, it's something that we're thinking about.
So, I know my personal story when I went to one of your Rise events and I saw an 18-foot sub there. I just could
not.
Epic sub. I knew. I said, these guys are going to make it.
That was it, right?
That was for you? Concreted into Springfield. This is it.
I'm not going to admit how much of that sub I ate, but it was pretty fire. It was a really good sub. Thank you, Alyssa, for donating that.
Yes, yeah. That was all the credit to her. She came
and set it all up, and it looked beautiful.
It did. She did a good job.
Good job. So what does Rise look like for the immediate future anyway? I know you said you don't know where it's going to go a year from now, but so what are some plans that you have? Maybe next event?
Yeah, some cool stuff that we're doing July 12th, correct?
Yep.
Now that I've said that, I want to make sure I say it right. July 12th, we're actually going to be having another Rise and Shine event. Tess Fialka is going to speak at that. She's from O'Shea Builders. Again, another phenomenal speaker.
Yeah, very, very good.
Yes.
Yep.
And then Brant's actually going to be hosting that. So that'll be cool to see another facility here in Springfield.
Right.
And, I mean, they do so much in the ag industry. It's, again, a really cool thing to be like, wow, they're here. They're only like 5 minutes away, too. So that'll be a good one. And then we are hosting a golf skills camp, which details will be published soon about that, just to kind of help some younger people like myself feel more comfortable on the golf course, because I'm really good if someone tells me what club to use and where to hit the ball, but aside from that, I really struggle with my golf game. But like just...
That's more than most people can say, myself included. So.
But like being able to like go to the outing and not feel like you're embarrassing yourself, right? So we're going to have that coming up. Obviously, the Memorial Health Championship volunteering.
The end of June.
SSGA, we're working with them for a baseball game. I'll let you talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So the Springfield Sangamon Growth Alliance was kind enough to allow us to really tag team with them for, they have a program called, they have their Thrive Allies program, which is kind of somewhat similar to what we've talked about already, where it is a roster essentially of people that are their information is on the SSGA website. I'm on there personally, and it's a little bit of information about each person. And if you're moving to town, you can pull up that website, pull up that roster, read through some of the bios, and if you think that somebody has similar interests to you or whatever speaks to you about a certain person there, you can reach out to them and get some information on places to go eat, on things to do with families, whatever it is that you're trying to figure out. If Springfield's a new place for you, they've got that program set up for just that. So they do a baseball game every year with the Springfield Lucky Horseshoes at Robin Roberts Stadium, and we're kind enough to allow us to join them. So we have access to the party deck in right field. It fits up to 100 people. Again, because of their graciousness, it's free for anybody up to that 100-person limit. Yeah. So I know we have lots of people. I want to be on the wait list for that, so that I don't miss out. It's going to be a blast. It's going to be a really fun time. Those games are so much fun, and it will be the perfect setting for people to be outside and do all the stuff that we've talked about today at a Rise event. Yeah. So hopefully it's another larger group and a successful event for us.
Yeah, and just being able to work, Melissa and Jamie, they actually bought the horseshoes, what was it, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, this is their second season.
Their second season, so a little bit over 2 years ago. And they've completely turned that stadium around. So being able to go and support local with that. And then obviously they brought Andrew in as well, and he's been fantastic. Just cool to be able to connect into some of that.
Yeah.
Are they going to shoot you out of a cannon or anything?
They should do that for you.
I declined to be shot out of a cannon.
You should do that.
Yeah. Maybe next year.
Can you wear the mascot costume?
No, Bailey.
Melissa!
I like that.
Melissa and I'll set you up, don't worry.
So on those same kind of lines,
somebody can take my spot at the event.
Supporting local businesses, obviously, but what kind of benefits do the people who host these events, not just necessarily a sponsor, but I mean the hosts have been very generous also.
So generous. I mean, the biggest thing they get is they have someone coming to see their venue. So our event that was this morning, Bun Gourmet actually was able to host the venue space. Yeah. And I can't tell you, I talked to probably 5 or 10 people that were like, I've never been here before. Right. I can't wait to come back. I need to eat all these desserts. And I was like, yeah, they're amazing.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy this morning, and he said, this would be a great spot for an after hours. And I said, it's a breakfast place. They don't serve alcohol.
Oh,
and he goes... He pointed over there, and there was like, I was like, I just thought this was like, get a little Danish and a coffee.
It sounds like we're going to have a social event in the evening next year as a part of our calendar. Yeah. So, you're really getting exposure. Whether you're in the sponsorship role, if you're helping us financially with an event, you're obviously going to get your branding and all of that. But yeah, the venues, I mean, just to bring a pack full of
50
people,
of power young people in Springfield.
Sure. And the thing with our generation of young professionals, like we talk to each other quite often. We're very social. Most of the people that are going to our events. So, the people that you're getting in your venue are going to go tell all their friends about the experience that they had. So, that to me, that's a huge benefit.
I mean, people saw the happy hour sign. They're like, "Oh, I should come here for happy hour." And it's like it's like half price wines. You get like a $4 or $5 glass of wine, and it's a steal. And they're pretty generous pours. I'm just saying.
There you go.
So it's just right, and then they have like brunch on the weekends, and they have delicious food. It's like, oh, that's a place that you can go for a business meeting and take someone, right?
Yep.
Or just going like with your family and getting ice cream on a Saturday afternoon. Like that's for Bun Gourmet specifically, but like these other places that are hosting. We had one at Buzz Bomb recently. And I mean, we're learning all about the different events and such that they host there. Like, they have days where you can bring your dog for, like, the dog in the park day.
Yeah.
Like, I had no idea that kind of stuff happened in Springfield. So it's cool to be able to, like, go to these venues, get exposure just personally, but also I was one of 35 people that attended that event. So how many other people learned about that? And then, like you said, they go tell all their friends.
And the three of us are from here. Right?
Yeah.
And we've lived here for a long time. This is what we're experiencing. So all the people that came today or to any of our other events that that was their first time even hearing about the venue.
Yeah.
For them to have that kind of experience of a Rise event as their first time in a Bun Gourmet or a Buzz Bomb.
Yes.
That will make them come back. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the big question. How can young people find out more about Rise other than this podcast and find out about events, future things going on?
Social media and our webpage.
Yep.
I would say our website is gscc.org/rise. So that's how you can go directly to like our latest newsletters, our upcoming events, just some information about us, the committee members. Yep. There's that, but then I would say most of our information sharing comes from an email list that when you come to an event, you sign up for that email list.
Right.
You can always opt out. But then otherwise, LinkedIn and Facebook, we share a lot of information that way as well.
Right. And that's a good way to stay up to date with us. I think everybody finds their own avenue, but those are the primary ones, and we try to, really everything gets sent out to all of them. Yeah. So you won't miss out if you only look at LinkedIn or you only look at Facebook or only email. So
and truthfully, just word of mouth too.
Yeah.
So like if anyone has questions, we always offer up like, hey, feel free to call, text, LinkedIn, whatever, email, however makes sense to get some questions answered. But I mean that goes for us and then our committee members as well.
Right.
So
yeah, get on if you're thinking about coming to an event, I would start with the website. Look at the committee member list. Get to know those faces, and then if you see somebody on our committee at one of the events, if you don't see anybody you know personally there, that'd be a good place to start to just ask some questions and find out how you can get involved. Our committee is the friendliest group of people you can find. They will help find ways for you to get involved. Not only are we doing that stuff we talked about earlier where we're introducing and connecting people to one another, but also just information about Rise. We get those questions a lot, so just grab one of us and we'll be happy to point you in the right direction.
Do you have to personally be a member of anything, or your business that you work at, do they have to be a member of anything to be able to come to Rise events?
At this moment, no.
No. Yep. They're open. They're open to anybody, and like we've said before, the typical attendees in that 20 to 30 something range, but we have people that are in their 40s and 50s, 60s, and 70s that show up to events too. So, don't feel like that's a barrier. Yeah. Right. So not only are they open to everybody right now in terms of like membership and what company you work for, but also, whoever you are, come check us out.
Awesome. Anything else you guys want to add?
No.
I mean, I could talk for another hour about how much I love Rise, but I won't.
Absolutely. And
I'll definitely spare you that.
And we think that 2024 is going to be a huge year for us.
Yes.
We think we've got the positive momentum now.
Yeah.
We've worked really hard with the rest of our committee to get to this point, but I think Bailey used the word capitalize earlier. That's what we're going to try to do in 2024 is really capitalize on the momentum that we've built to establish Rise as a sustainable organization way beyond the two of us and way beyond everybody else that's involved leadership-wise, so it can continue to be utilized by Springfield folks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for being on. Obviously, it's nice to be here in the LRS building. And
yeah,
recording.
thanks guys
Thank you
for coming.
For having us. And we'll look forward to checking out some Rise events very soon.
Please do.